When driving the Hypercar Class in Le Mans Ultimate, one of the biggest challenges as a beginner is understanding how to use its brakes correctly. And today, I'm going to teach you how to do it. So welcome to episode 2 of our Le Mans Ultimate Hypercar Beginner Series, where we'll be covering the correct braking technique as well as show you an easy way to practice it. Now, the reason why it's so important to learn proper braking technique when driving the Hypercar Class is because these cars lack what's called an anti-lock braking system, or ABS for short. What this means is that it's completely up to us, the driver, to prevent our car's tyres from what's referred to as locking up. But before we look at how to stop this from happening, I'll explain why it's happening in the first place. Now, the way these hypercars work is that as they travel at high speeds, they generate what's called downforce, which is basically a force that presses the car, including its wheels, down towards the ground, which then gives the tyres more grip on the road surface. The faster the car travels, the more downforce and grip we generate on our tyres. Then naturally, as we slow the car down with our brakes, that downforce and grip becomes less and less. So if we press the brake pedal down too hard and it gets to a point where there's not enough grip on the tyres left to handle that brake pressure, the brake disc will stop rotating or start rotating slower than the wheels. This then causes the tyres to slide across the road surface, which is what's called a lockup. Now, lockups can be severe, like in this example, causing the car to snap into a spin, or they can be less significant, like this example, where there's a slight loss of control causing the car to slide forward for a split second. Either way, locking up is never a good thing, because not only does it cause a loss of control of the car, but it also heavily damages our tyres by creating flat spots on them, which then makes it even easier to lock up again and again as the session progresses. All of this results in slower lap times and a very uncomfortable bumpy vibration going through the car's steering wheel. So how do we stop this from happening? Well, there's two parts to this, and the first is that we need to control our brake pedal in relation to the speed of the car. In this example, you can see that I start by applying maximum brake force because at this moment, we're traveling fast and have a high amount of grip on the tyres. But then as the car starts to slow down, I then also start to release the brake pedal slowly to compensate for that grip wearing off. Now, the second part is that we need to slow the car down fast enough so that we can remove our foot from the brake as fast as possible. And we do this using engine braking. Whenever we go down a gear in the car, this act of downshifting also helps to slow the car down each time we downshift, and it's referred to as engine braking. So whilst using our brake pedal, going down the gears really fast will help us slow the car down even faster, allowing us to brake later and release the brakes sooner, reducing the risk of locking up. In this example, you can see that we're braking quite early for this chicane at Spa. Now, because we aren't downshifting fast enough, the car is still traveling too fast. And because we had the brakes too hard for too long, we lock up our tyres. Now, in this second example, not only did we brake later, but because we managed to slow the car down fast enough, we didn't have to worry about being in a situation where the brakes were too hard for too long, allowing us to start removing our foot from the brake pedal as soon as possible. Using these two techniques together is the most important skill to learn when driving the Hypercar Class, and of course the only way to get better at this is to practice. And now we'll show you an exercise that you can use to do this. First, open a practice session at Spa and choose whichever hypercar you like. If you're unsure which to use, then I'd suggest using the Ferrari 499P because it's really safe when using the brakes. The car setup won't matter here, but I've found that the inbuilt Coach Dave setups work fine for beginners. Now make sure you have medium tyres selected and take the car out onto the track. Do a few warm-up laps to help heat the tyres up, then try the following 3 exercises. The first is turn 7 or LOCKUP. The goal for this corner is to start braking as close to the orange marker on the left here, and we want to bring the car down from 7th gear to either 3rd or 2nd gear without locking up. You can start braking fairly early at first to be safe, then just keep practicing until you start braking as close to that orange marker as possible. This corner should be quite simple because it's on an uphill slope, which means we have extra grip on the tyres due to gravity pushing our car down slightly. So brake nice and hard initially, and then start removing the brake pedal as the car slows down. Now our next corner is at turn 10 or Bruzel. This is a tricky corner because it's on a downhill slope. This means we have to be really careful with the brakes here because there's less grip. Now the goal here is to start braking as close as we can to that second motor billboard. And we want to slow the car down from 5th gear to 2nd gear. You'll notice that we really need to start removing our foot from the brake pedal fairly early, so use your engine braking and downshift quickly to get the car slowed down as soon as possible. And now for our final corner 19, which is the chicane at the end of the track. The goal here is to start braking at the white line and get the car down from 7th gear to 1st gear. Now this is a really heavy braking zone and the chance of locking up here is quite high. So be safe and brake earlier at first, then keep trying to brake later and later as you get more confident with it. Now as we mentioned earlier, using the brake pedal and proper fast engine braking are the most important skills to learn when driving the Hypercar class. So keep practicing with the exercise above until it becomes like second nature to you. Now there are other advanced systems such as brake bias and brake migration, which we'll cover in a later episode. But it's important to master these basics before we can really take advantage of those more advanced systems. Now to finish, we'll leave you with the qualifying lap at Spa in the BMW Hypercar with a lap time of 2:0:05. So you can see what the braking inputs look like when you're really trying to push these cars hard around the track. But thanks as always for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.